Hashtag stop Galamsey now.
Let the water flow. I will speak to him directly. President John Dramani Mahama.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The Midday News is live on Joy 99.7 FM and hits 103.9 FM here in Accra. We are also in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM and streaming worldwide at myjoyonline.com on X Spaces, Facebook, and on YouTube. We are also live in all 16 regions of Ghana via our affiliates, including Bewa Radio 106.5, Yendi, Bole, ATL 100.5, Cape Coast, and Radio Freed in Nandom. The Midday News is supported by Petrosol Platinum Energy, energizing dreams. Coming up, increasing concerns. Ghanaians could experience fresh fuel price increase at the pumps amid heightened tensions in the Middle East, where Iran has stepped up military actions across the region in response to ongoing war involving the United States and Israel.
My chairman has just intimated to me that it's likely we are going to have an emergency meeting with players in the industry. NPA, I'm sure, is going to be summoned by Tuesday or Wednesday.
We have products to last in the country for almost 6 and 7 weeks for petrol and diesel and petrol respectively.
There's more as the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, reassures the public, stating that Ghana currently has adequate fuel reserves to last several weeks, and also less than 24 hours to the Ayawaso East parliamentary by-elections, with latest polls from the Global Info Analysis tipping the NDC's Baba Jamal as the clear favorite for the polls.
The poll has a 95% confidence, a margin of error of less than 93%.
We are live on the ground plus here from the Electoral Commission on preparations so far. In sports,
Ghana's Black Queens are set to proceed with the Pink Ladies Cup tournament despite rising tensions in the Middle East.
And global study which found lead in braiding hair sparks mixed reactions in Ghana. We hear from some women who use hair extensions.
But we've been wearing our wigs since decades, so it's not now that this research is coming to put fear in us.
Also in this bulletin,
at long last, the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
As Ghana marks 69 years of independence this week, we tell you how the Accra community of Jamestown and the historic James Fort played a role in Ghana's struggle for independence, and also how the story lives on through the people today.
A lot of people died. It's very painful history, very sad. By that time, they don't see us as human beings. They see us like animals.
My name is Hannah Odame. I bring you details of these headlines and more in this bulletin. Thanks for choosing Joy News. We are independent, fearless, and credible. Now, there are mounting concerns that Ghanaians could soon experience fresh pressure at the fuel pumps as global oil price climbs sharply. The increase follows renewed attacks on commercial vessels near the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic maritime corridor responsible for transporting roughly 20% of the world's oil and gas supply. Now, the surge in prices come amid heightened tensions in the Middle East, where Iran has stepped up military actions across the region in response to ongoing confrontations involving the United States and Israel. Now, these developments have unsettled global energy markets, with oil importing countries like Ghana expected to feel the effect. Despite the uncertainty, the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, is seeking to reassure the public. The authority says Ghana currently has adequate fuel reserves to last several weeks. While speaking on Joy News on the probe on Sunday, the NPA's Director of Economic Regulation and Planning, Abbas Ibrahim, admitted Ghana cannot completely escape the impact of global price fluctuations. However, he emphasized that safeguards have been implemented to minimize the burden on consumers. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, Caleb Ziblim from our research desk joins me in the studio with some updates. So, what's the latest on the global oil prices as we speak, Caleb?
Yes, Hannah. So, currently on the world markets, a barrel of crude oil is going for $79. We ended Friday at $72 per barrel, and we are currently doing $79 per barrel. And for some context, in 2022, February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the price of crude oil shot up to almost $80 per barrel. So we are currently around that same level. But then before Friday, because the market was anticipating a strike by Israel and the US on Iran, the price of crude oil was already increasing on the market before Friday. So Friday, we ended the day at $72 per barrel, and we are currently doing $78 per barrel. We're expecting it to go a bit higher than this, but then it seems like the market has been used to some tension in the Middle East, and they are not expecting this to go on for much longer, which is why the price has not gone up too sharply. But then if the unrest in the Middle East stays on for the next couple of days or a week, that's when we should see that crude oil prices should go up from the current $78 or $80 per barrel and potentially cross the $100 per barrel mark.
So we shouldn't panic?
So in the meantime, the price of crude oil has gone up a bit, but then it's not significant. We are currently doing $78 per barrel.
We are waiting for a week, like you said.
We are waiting for some time. Right. But then the markets in the US just opened as well. Just 1 hour of trading so far, and then we don't know how the day might end. So later today, if there's any escalation on the part of the US or the Iranians, there might also be some possible spillover effects in Ghana.
Great. Thank you very much, Caleb, there. Meanwhile, the MPA's Director of Economic Regulation and Planning, Abbas Ibrahim, maintains that mechanisms are in place to stabilize the supply and also cushion Ghanaians against the sharp price shocks.
Definitely, with such a war happening and the impact it has on the global oil market, consumers and all stakeholders will be concerned about whether Ghana will be affected. As we've said, Ghana will definitely be affected, just like any other country in the world. So the focus will be what plans we have in place to ensure that consumers do not lack fuel for the economy to run. So as you asked, what is Ghana's current stock level of petroleum products? As at last Friday, we have diesel stocks to last us over 5 weeks. Estimated roughly, it will last us up to 5.3 weeks. And then for petrol, we have almost 7 weeks, 6.8 weeks to last. And this is something that we monitor all the time. If you know that for a country like Ghana, which is a net importer, even without this war, we always ensure that we have a plan to make petroleum products available for consumers in the country. And so this is not something that is being done because of the war, but it's something we do on the regular. It's one of MPA's major mandates to ensure that petroleum products are always available. So as of Friday, like you said, the last monitoring that we did, petrol again will last us up to almost 7 weeks, 6.8 weeks, and diesel will last us about 5.3 weeks. But just to add that this does not mean that we don't have imports coming in. We discharge petroleum products almost every day in this country. So we have a plan where almost every day discharge of petroleum products have been done. That is for the imported products. And we also have the Sentu oil refinery, which is consistently producing. It has been doing so since June last year, June 2025. And as we speak, they are producing on a daily basis and putting petroleum products on the market. The Atuabo gas processing plant is also producing and putting LPG on the market. So in terms of stocks, whilst we consume what is in tank, we have a plan of import for import as well. We have about 4 vessels at the anchorage as we speak in Tema, which are waiting to discharge 2 cargoes for diesel and 2 cargoes for petrol, and other imports are also scheduled to come in. So for now, to answer your question directly, we have products to last the country for almost 6 and 7 weeks for petrol and diesel and petrol respectively.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Ranking Member of Parliament's Energy Committee, Collins Adumakomensa, says the committee will convene an emergency meeting with the MPA and other key stakeholders this week. The goal, he says, is to review the measures being taken to mitigate the potential impact of rising global oil prices on consumers.
My chairman has just intimated to me that it's likely we are going to have an emergency meeting with the power players, with the players in the industry. MPA, I'm sure, is going to be summoned by Tuesday or Wednesday to come and meet the committee alongside the Ministry of Energy to come and explain to us what this whole war means to us. And the question you put to me, I'm sure I'm going to put the same question to them when they come to us. They are the technical people. They should explain to us what the implications are, although we have a fair idea that is going to lead to some price increases. And this brings to the fore the issue about TOR, and I'm excited that TOR is now running. I mean, not at a full capacity, but it has started some operations. We we have to have a very serious policy discussion. Oil producers, we produce oil now in Ghana. What do we do in situations like this? Can we, as a matter of urgency, have a meeting with them to see whether we can quickly refine quite a number of it here in Ghana so we can be assured of some supply? These are all policy direction that must be taken by the ministry.
While the evacuation plans of Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry remains unknown, as several Ghanaians remain stranded in the United Arab Emirates following the sudden airspace shutdown across the Gulf. Among those affected are players of the Black Queens and popular blogger Zion Felix. While this closure comes after the US and Israeli strikes on Iran targeted widespread flight cancellations, grounding operations at major airports in Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Doha. Airlines including Emirates Airways have extended suspensions as tensions remain high, leaving thousands of international travelers unable to return home. First, head of Joy Sports, Fentiu, paints a picture of the Black Queens situation.
That a lot of them are very scared, with their bags packed and ready to move at any instruction. That's exactly what authorities have told them to do, and that's what the players have done. There's not been word from the Foreign Ministry, apart from the statement from yesterday, where they said that they were still assessing the situation with regard to evacuation of Ghanaian citizens in those affected countries. But what I know is that they had a training session this morning. That did not happen as they remained in their hotels. I also spoke to them about whether they have enough supplies, and they told me that the hotels are taking care of everything.
Let's also hear from popular blogger Felix Adumaku-Mensah, popularly known as Zion Felix. Now, he's also stranded in Dubai and plans to fly to London, but that also got disrupted by the developments.
We were supposed to board a flight around 1:30. When you got there around 1:30, 1:45, we had a message that the flight had been rescheduled to 4:30 p.m. That is on Saturday. So it was then that we realized that there were some things flying in, they were in the air. That is why they rescheduled the flight. So I went to the Emirates app, checked on it, and realized that they've closed the airspace. So around 4 p.m., all flights had been cancelled. So we went to the counter, they made arrangement for accommodation, transportation from the airport to the hotels.
Well, Nuella is with me here in the studio to tell us the latest about the war. Nuella, go on.
Right, Hannah. So we know that the war is still ongoing. We know that 3 U.S. fighter jets were accidentally shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses. Also, U.S. military said, that's according to U.S. military, I beg your pardon, and all crew members survived the crash. We also know that Israel has responded with airstrikes on southern Lebanon and its capital, Beirut, after Hezbollah fired rockets on northern Israel. And according to the Israeli military, they confirmed that, quote, senior Hezbollah terrorist in the Beirut area and a central Hezbollah commander in southern Lebanon. And also CNN's Bijan Husseini, who reports from Doha, where 6 or 7 loud explosions in the sky on Monday morning, also reports of Iranian strikes coming from various locations around the Gulf.
Thank you very much, Nuella, there. To other stories, a tightly contested battle is hours away from decision in the Ayawaso East constituency, with new polling tipping the NDC as favourites less than 24 hours before voters head to the polls. Well, fresh data from Global Info Analytics points to the edge of the NDC's Baba Jamal in the by-election. He faces Baba Ali Yusuf of the New Patriotic Party, Ibrahim Idrisu of the Liberal Party of Ghana, and 2 independent candidates. Musa Dankwa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, spoke earlier on Newsdesk. Now he explains what the numbers suggest heading into Election Day.
Ayawaso East is a strong NDC constituency. And if you look at the numbers we have, about 75% voters are in 16% or 50% are active, and 9% are voting for. So the results show that they are voting purely for party. The poll has a 95% confidence, and minus error of lack of 93%. Ghana is not the only country that opinion polls are there. So we saw something new that we do. Everywhere in the world, there's opinion poll. Look, this is not a strange constituency. This is a stronghold of NDC. Nothing is going to change about that. No, you see, we can't generalize what we see in Lima. If this is happening in a swing constituency, then you can make some inferences. This is a stronghold of the NDC, and you don't expect an independent candidate from NDC to do well, because they are voting on party. 96% of NDC voters are voting for Pajama. 96%.
Well, let's go to the phone lines and speak to our reporter on the ground, Stephen Mensah. Well, so, Stephen, what's the mood in the constituency ahead of tomorrow's election?
Well, what I can say for the mood in this constituency would be an expectation for most of the residents you've spoken to. Here will be a pretty busy market or pretty busy community, but then what you'll be seeing will be police presence and also police barricades in and around most of the places we've visited so far. We would also notice that he has been predominantly an NDC constituency, but then you would see posters of the NPP and the independent candidates in and around most of the vantage points we've seen. I'm here with one of the residents. I'd want to pick your thoughts on what she would be expecting from the next member of parliament for the next elections. That's tomorrow. Election process. What would be expectations for tomorrow?
Well, good afternoon. This is Nima. I'm speaking from Nima. My expectation is that we have a peaceful election tomorrow, and everybody should behave it or herself. Everything should go smoothly, and inshallah, God to elect someone who cares and who is willing to come and do the work for us. We already know our problem in Lima. We're engulfed in filth. Filth is our major problem, and the second one is discipline. So we are not supposed to tell them, since they are vying for the position, they know what entails here. We want them to come and work for us to our expectation. I'm going to hold them accountable if to do otherwise. And I wish all of them peaceful elections. Thank you.
That was one of the residents you just spoke to, and she tells us that she'll be expecting the sanitation levels here in this constituency should be improved once the next member of parliament is elected.
Thank you very much, Stephen Mensah there. Well, joining us on the phone lines is the Director of Elections at the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Fred Tete. Tell us, good afternoon, sir, what exactly is the EC fully prepared for ahead of tomorrow?
Thank you. Thank you very much. In terms of preparation, we are ready, as I've been saying.
You are ready. So what measures are in place to ensure there is a transparent election?
Okay. Well, when it comes to elections, you're talking about the preparation, you're talking about the logistics and the engagement. And in terms of preparation, yes, go ahead.
Kindly go ahead, sir. Have all these materials you're talking about been dispatched to the various polling stations?
No, we don't dispatch materials at this very moment. What we do is materials are sent to the district office, and then the eve to the polling, we send the material to the polling station. So we're talking about 113 polling stations in all, for which almost 50,000 voters are expected to vote.
Considering the area in context, what's your security arrangements as well? For
security, usually we'll leave it in the hands of the Ghana Police Service. And we are confident that they're going to dispatch their duties professionally. Let me talk about the constituency per se. When we talk about Ayawaso East constituency, we talk through the 37 area, the new mosque, the whole of Kanda. We're looking at Mamobi East, Mamobi West, Nima East, Nima West, part of Kwauchu. When we talk of Kwauchu, we're looking at close to the Kutubabi police station area. So that's the area that we're looking at.
Thank you so very much. We'll be following you tomorrow. That's Director of Elections at the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Fred Tete there. Well, senior public sector officials and technocrats are meeting in Accra to examine the revised Public Financial Management Amendment Bill 2026. aimed at tackling inefficiencies and the misuse of state resources. The private members' bill, sponsored by Ofuasi Ayeribi MP and ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee, Kojo Oponkroma, seeks to amend the Public Financial Management Act 2016 to align the annual budget with Ghana's long-term development plan. Clerk to Parliament, Ebenezer Ahuma, says the amendments will strengthen coordination between the Finance Ministry and the National Development Planning Commission while improving efficiency and accountability.
The onus therefore lies on all of us here gathered today to take full advantage of this platform to ensure that the provisions of this bill enhances the credibility of national budget as an instrument for achieving Ghana's long-term development agenda. Let me assure you that Parliament remains steadfast in its commitment to transparency, collaboration, and inclusiveness in its legislative framework. This platform, indeed, offers us to give full meaning to Article 1062A of the Constitution.
You heard the Clerk to Parliament, Ebenezer Ahuma, there. This is the Midday News. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will go live on the ground and hear from some persons on the global study which has found that lead is in braiding hair. This has sparked mixed reactions in Ghana.
But we've been wearing our wigs since decades, so it's not now that this research is coming to put fear in us.
Yeah, welcome back. Sports is next.
Yes, Hannah, the Black Queens of Ghana are set to proceed with their participation in the Pink Ladies Cup in the United Arab Emirates, despite rising tensions in the Middle East. The team has started training ahead of their second game against Russia on Tuesday, following assurances of safety from authorities in the country. Matilda Domedo is the team's media officer.
Spoken to the UAE Police Department. They have a special department for diplomacy. They're speaking to them, and then they have us on their list. In case of any emergency, they will come for us. So for now, we are safe where we are. Depending on where the airspace will be cleared, we can go. When the airspace is cleared before the last game, we might leave the last game and leave. Or if it's still not cleared, we will play and wait for the airspace.
All right, then it sounds like everything is calm now.
Yeah, a bit calm. The way yesterday we were seeing smoke, stars flying all over. Today has been calm. People are going about their activity normally.
That's Matilda Dimedo, the team's media officer of the Black Queens. Back to you, Hannah.
Well, in the bustling Zongo communities of Sekondi Takra, the rising temperatures are turning homes into ovens. The combination of climate change, poor housing design, and limited ventilation is creating unbearable indoor heat and putting lives at risk. The most vulnerable are children, the elderly, and pregnant women. They are feeling the heat the hardest. Prince Owusu Osiedu has more in today's climate evidence.
Ghana's climate strategies recognize the dangers of global warming. In Sekondi Takoradi Zongo, cramped buildings and limited airflow are often compounding the crisis. Trader Balikisu Dauda explains that she keeps her children cool by wiping them down with wet towels, but says the elderly are often left to endure the heat with little relief.
The heat is harsh, causing rashes and making kids uncomfortable. We most of the times use wet towels to cool them down, trying to help them sleep. It's tougher for kids. They can't handle it.
Another resident, Idris Mohammed, says the heat drives them outdoors at night.
Even with the air conditioner, the heat is overwhelming, forcing us to rely on natural ventilation, like laying mats outside just to catch a breeze.
The Metropolitan Development Planning Officer and Climate Change Focal Point, Abu Mohammed, says the Assembly is taking steps to reduce the impact of extreme heat.
Particularly in the Zongos, you realize that the buildings are mostly joined together. So we need to have education and educate them to understand that there's a change, and that change is the reason why there's so much heat.
A recent study by Ebenezer Mankwa of the University of Ghana recommends stronger climate-responsive housing policies that focus on ventilation.
We have installed heat detection devices in rooms and hospitals. For setup, position windows to face each other and orient buildings to allow wind flow, reducing heat impact.
As temperatures continue to rise, the heat inside Zongo homes is no longer just uncomfortable, it's dangerous.
Let's go to the Ahafo region, where rescue efforts have been called off after 9 people were confirmed dead following a mining pit collapse at Atanya Ata in the Esuti South District. At least 4 survivors are receiving treatment at a nearby hospital. Footage from the scene shows traces of blood at the site of the collapse. Erastus Asaridonko is on the beat and joins us on the phone lines with more. So, Erastus, do we know the circumstances that led to the collapse?
So this is a fresh land, somebody's farm that they took over, and they've been digging without supporting the pit with stakes. And so the loose earth gave out of the area, and then it collapsed on them. As of yesterday, they still thought that they had people trapped in there, and so they brought excavators, but after digging for hours, they are convinced that there is nobody in there.
And what's the condition of the survivors currently receiving treatment?
So currently we have 4 persons who are receiving treatment at the St. Elizabeth Hospital at Fidim, and they are all responding to treatment.
Thank you very much, Erastus Asaridonko there. Well, despite growing international concern over harmful chemicals found in some synthetic hair extensions, many Ghanaian women say they are not ready to abandon the popular beauty product. The reactions follow a CNN report citing a U.S. study that detected potentially cancer-causing chemicals, including lead, in several brands of the synthetic braiding hair, along with substances linked to hormone disruptions. But in Accra, the women say this practically outweighs concern, insisting the decision to stop using extensions is not that straightforward.
Well, I haven't heard of the research, but I think it's very concerning. Something that is so personal and so everyday has high chances of causing me cancer. I don't know, it makes me feel a certain way. Going forward, I think that it will affect how I wear hair extensions or how I use them.
I've heard of it, and for me, I think if they're saying it's going to affect our health, then they should bring an alternative to it so that it doesn't affect us, our health. I'll still wear it, I'll still wear it because it adds to our beauty.
Well, I've actually never heard of this. I'm hearing it for the first time, and it's quite alarming because I can't really imagine not braiding with an extension. For 1 or 2 months, I can do with my natural hair, but then with forever not using extensions, it's quite hard. I don't know how that can be put through.
For me, I've not heard about the research, but we've been wearing our wigs since decades, so it's not now that this research is coming to put fear in us. Girls, keep wearing it. So Clark.
Well, in our first episode of Ghana Month series, we bring you the story of Jamestown, a historic Ga community that played a significant role in Ghana's fight for independence.
Ghana, we now have freedom. Ghana, land of freedom. Toils of the brave and the sweat of their labors. Toils of the brave which have brought.
From the struggle against British colonial rule
to present day, Jamestown has been a hotbed of political activity.
At long last, the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
Some of the leading voices in the independence movement later became known as the Big Six. The nationalists who played key roles in challenging colonial rule included two prominent Ghana leaders, Emmanuel Obichibi-Lamte and Ebenezer Akweje.
I'm sure you know the rest, but Adubia is here. Do you remember the rest?
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Put me on the spot. Wait, I'll try and remember. It's not coming. But what's something you love about Ghana? You tell me in one sentence.
Our food.
You like food too much. I'm not even big. Well, with that said, in our Ghana Month series, in fact, hashtag Ghana Month is in the trends, and netizens have already started sharing our task for the day. We even have some of our in-house people here wearing fugu and African prints. Yes, I have my corporate dress with a touch of African prints, and you are not. So tomorrow I have to wear African prints.
I hear you.
So hashtag Ghana Month is in the trends, and we are looking forward to having an exciting march, celebrating the country, our food, our dressing, everything concerning us. So yes, Hannah, that's it.
And that's it for the Midday News. Thanks for joining us. I am Hannah Odame. Catch us more news on myjoyonline.com.